Everyone. Thank you for joining us on the second business briefing. Okay, thank you. I think if everyone can go straight on mute, that'd be really helpful. Thanks, guys. I know it's difficult. I think when we did the first briefing, we started to feel like there were going to be green shoots in terms of business, in terms of the recovery. I think with the constantly changing environment, changing rules and situations, I think we're still in significantly challenging times. COVID has impacted every sector, every business, every location across our county. We're an enterprising people. We thrive in challenge, but as we all know, this is unprecedented. We also have looming the EU transition, and with still a lack of clarity on how that's going to impact, we do understand that it's going to be difficult over the next few months and beyond. So this session, we've decided to focus on a number of things. The first one is what grants and support is available, as always. We're here from the new SEB programme, we hear from Colby. But what we also wanted to look at is support, really, both in terms of mental health and issues. I know we've faced the growth of not only an unprecedented number of calls, we've gone from being able to diagnose a business and give them a portfolio of grant support or loans, or direct them and navigate them in a matter of days to a matter of weeks now, which is just an indication not of our profile, but the genuine need that people have now. Most businesses for quite a long time have always had a safety net of average of a few months. Now, with a completely different environment, consumers demanding, requesting different things, and a huge amount of uncertainty, we found that the growth of itself has become on the front line, really, of business support. To that extent, our capacity is growing, our schemes, our programs are growing, and we want to be leading the way, really, for businesses across our county. There will be opportunity, there is chances to grow, there's chances to start a business, and hopefully this session will give at least tasters and some ideas and some direction in terms of some of these aspects. The final thing, obviously, is a bit later on. We're going to see and allow you to find out more about the peer program that we're starting. Being in business is quite isolating, particularly at the moment, and the new peer program, which is a national program but adapted and led by locally, will give our businesses in our county a chance to come together, tackle some of these challenges as a group, while also allowing us to gain some valuable intelligence and information on what people are facing genuinely, so we can lead that and push that back up both to the LEP and to central government to help them, help our voice be heard, really, and help us change and evolve as the economic environment evolves around us. So with no further ado, I'm going to hand back to Jackie, who's going to facilitate this session. As she said, please put questions in the comments, and it's really helpful for you to say which speaker you wish the question to be aimed at. We'll do our best in the Q&A session to ensure all questions are answered. All presentations will be available and distributed to all attendees at the end. And hopefully you'll enjoy our big business briefing number 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Johnny. So as Johnny mentioned at the start of it, in Essex we are very entrepreneurial, and in fact we actually lead the way. From the start of the pandemic, we were quite shocked at the number of calls we were receiving from people that have decided that they want to take hold of their own destiny, be their own boss, because that opportunity suddenly presented themselves. So through a working group with Essex County Council and various business support providers, we started talking about how can we get Essex and people that want to start up businesses really leading from the front. And through various discussions with Essex County Council and the team at Colby, they've now come up with a fantastic new business accelerator programme. And so with that in mind, I'm now going to hand you over to Craig Baston, who's the Operations and Programme Manager for Colby, who's going to talk to you about the new enterprise programme. Over to you, Craig, if you could share your screen, please.
Hi, everybody. Just let me get that set up. Can you see that all okay?
Perfect, Craig. Thank you.
Thanks for the kind intro there. Yeah, that's great to give some context. I think what's I've been encouraged by through these difficult times is the amount of collaboration that's been going on, and Jackie references that forum that Best and other intermediaries are a part of, and that's just one example, and I'm sure there's plenty more by people that are on the call today in terms of working together both as individual businesses and support organisations. So this is just one thing that obviously we've partnered with Essex County Council, who have kindly funded us to deliver this initial programme aimed at supporting small businesses that are looking to develop, perhaps those people that have been affected and that have turned now to more entrepreneurial options as a way of moving forwards now, and supporting them to do that and make that a reality. There's a lot of people, certainly through the services that Colby provide, that we engage with on a day-to-day basis, who are seeing opportunity, seeing the silver lining. And I think it's important that we create an ecosystem really that supports them. So yes, this Business Accelerator really is there to provide that foundation for businesses who are looking to start out or looking in their formative stages to develop a business idea, and take that forward really, so they can start contributing to the economy and really start driving us forward. So I'm going to talk to you for a few minutes today really about what the Essex Accelerator is, how you can get involved if it's something that you personally are interested in, and also obviously if you are a support organisation or like-minded organisation that wants to support others with that, how you get in touch with us so we can spread the word. So without further ado, we'll just go through about what the Essex Accelerator really is and what the purpose of it is. So obviously it goes without saying that now more than ever, many people are finding themselves in a position where they need support, either for an existing business, but also those that may have been affected adversely, who were previously working in full-time employment or part-time employment, and that option now has ceased to exist to some degree. Some of those people are turning to options where they're considering starting their own businesses, and don't know where to go. They might have the experience, they might not have the experience, but really, obviously, with certain funding not being made available, they do still need to be equipped with the skills and the capability in order to take those ideas and make them a reality. So the idea of this program is to capture those people and give them those tools and that support mechanism really, so that they can then go on to put those ideas into practice. The idea of this program as well is really bridging the gap between employment and enterprise. So people that may have been affected by redundancy, or perhaps have been out of work prior to COVID and now are really struggling to find roles. This does give a full option to them where they may not have considered it in the past. And really, this is also recognising that there are other initiatives out around the county and East Anglia and nationally as well, and that this programme is to provide a foundation baseline of skills that then may lead them to further development opportunities with other support organisations, or other opportunities in the commercial environment. So really it's just equipping them with that baseline starting point really. So the format of the session is an online programme. It's going to be delivered over the course of around 10 weeks, which will be starting in November. The idea being that they will have sessions delivered via Zoom. There'll be roughly around 2 hours per session over a range of different subjects, which will be progressive in their nature. And I'll explain a bit more about what the content of those sessions is in due course. And also the sessions will be complemented as well by guidance from qualified business advisors. Similar to what the team over at Best do, is obviously Colby also provide one-to-one fully funded business advice for all kinds of businesses. And this will be another way to sort of strengthen that offering and offer dedicated support to businesses that are participating. There'll be a bit of homework, which everyone loves. in between sessions, but again, to try and guide it so it's not just 10 sessions, it's actually a 10-week program. So you're going through it in step by step, and actually feel like you've got the support to go away and take some of the stuff that you're learning in a formal environment and actually apply that to a real life business. And it's accessible to the whole of Essex. So it's easy when you've obviously got different partners that are based around the county to sort of think, oh, that would, one entity will deal with the south of Essex and want to deal with the north. But actually, I think one thing that's shown us throughout these past few months is actually there's such a great opportunity for us to collaborate and refer between those partners, and hopefully it's a good opportunity for those to do so. So in terms of eligibility for the programme, we've kept it relatively open at this stage. It's obviously COVID and other economic factors don't discriminate when it comes to who they're affecting necessarily. And I think the eligibility of our programme reflects that. Ideally, it is aimed at newer businesses. So it's pre-start or very recently started businesses that are under 1 year old. But it is important to note that some businesses we encounter perhaps have naturally, organically developed over time, and that they may never have had that formal support or guidance in that time, and actually might benefit. So where if you find that there's a business or you may have a business yourself that is in that stage, this program still might be applicable. So we're not trying to discourage that, and we're welcome to have a chat with them, with anybody that might feel that'd be a benefit. So ideally, the businesses need to be registered within Essex, but likewise, the best thing to do is get in touch with Colby. We'll assess obviously each business on a case-by-case basis, and ultimately, if this program isn't quite right, then there will probably be partners elsewhere, locally that we can refer on to. So relatively open in terms of what we're looking to offer the program to at the moment, but the content will be tailored towards newer businesses. So in terms of the delivery team, we've engaged with the Weave. Many of you may know of James Cracknell, who's very active on the business support arena. He heads up the team over the Weave, works with various other facilitators. As those of you that will know James, he is extremely dedicated and experienced in providing business support across the county. He's engaged with Colby for a number of years now as one of our key business advisors, and is obviously backed up by a very experienced team with their own experiences that they can bring to the table to really complement the program there. So he will obviously be our lead facilitator on that, and I'm looking forward to seeing how sort of the experience that he can bring to the table. He's backed up by a number of support team, just some of the Colby team and some of the wider advisory team that we have here at Colby that we're providing and engaging with the participants as we go through the accelerated program and into the beyond. And there's many others that sit behind the scenes that also support this process. So there's quite a good support network, established support network in place already for any participants. To just give you a very brief overview of the programme, so there's 8 parts delivered on with 1 session for each part. First of all, we start off looking at the overall idea of the business or the idea itself, which is broken down generally into 3 areas, which is capacity, connections and cash, to get a feel for what each entrepreneur is looking to do or what they may have just started doing. We then take that on to step 2, which is looking at the entrepreneur themselves. A lot of these businesses that we engage with tend to be a one-person band. And I think in that scenario, the importance of their self-awareness and their skill set as an individual is really, really key in how they bring that idea to life. That then moves on to how do we create, obviously, the structure of the business and create a bit of a vision for it. So obviously quite pinnacle in how do we push that business forward and how we frame the rest of the business.
You've gone on to mute.
Yeah, it got muted automatically for some reason. So step 4 moves on to how do we look at the customer experience. Moving on to step 5 through 8, we obviously have how do we look at the actual business model itself and how is that idea in practical terms going to work. Step 6, obviously looking at financial implications, which is always a big one. Also, the final steps, we're looking at the skills that need to be an effective leader, ideally giving scalability to that business, because leadership is obviously pinnacle in doing that. And then finally, step 8 would be how do we develop the skills needed to develop the winner pitch, which again, in winning business moving forward after that business launches, is obviously going to be very important as well. So it brings it all together on that final session. So in terms of what you need to do, the applications are open now. So if you're interested or you know somebody that's interested, they can go to the website that's on the screen, which is the colby.co.uk/Essex Accelerator. Or they can call the team over at Colby on 01206 548 833. Also, support organisations are more than welcome to refer through to us. Just please get the client's permission, obviously, before doing so, or pass the details of us on to them so they can contact us as correct. We've got an email address on screen as well, which we're more than happy to answer questions they have. You don't need to get any details off of them, just put them in touch, but we'll handle the rest. So thank you for listening. Hopefully, see if anybody's got any questions towards the end of today's briefing, then please feel free to send them my way, or if you have questions more specific that you'd like to discuss afterwards, please get in touch. And thank you again for Essex County Council, obviously, in making the opportunity available. And hopefully we'll have a super successful programme that we can take forward to support businesses across the county moving forward.
Thank you, Craig. Can I just remind everybody, please have your cameras off and on mute to stop any feedback. That'd be fantastic. Just Craig, that's a fantastic presentation. Thank you for sticking to the time, number one, because we've got a lot to go through today. But I think you'll agree, guys, it's really important that as a an entrepreneurial county, that we have some kind of programme in place to support these businesses. A lot of businesses fail within the first 18 months. So having that structured approach at the start is going to be really important. I would really recommend the team at Colby. They do a fantastic job and we get some really fantastic feedback from them. So thank you, Craig. So in terms of our next presentation, grant funding, as you all know, has played a really big part in helping businesses survive through COVID-19 in the initial stages from central government. What's really frustrating for us as our Best Growth Hub is that not a lot of businesses are aware that there's a lot of other grant funding out there. Although it's not 100% grant funded like the central government pots, it is part funded. So there's been a lot of success stories over the last 2 years in particular, where as support providers and grant providers, we've been able to help businesses to grow. And although it pains me to introduce Brian Smith, the South East Business Boost programme manager, because he's a Rangers supporter, I've got absolute faith. The South East Business Boost programme in 2018-2019 absolutely smashed their allocation of grant funding as well as their skills programme, so much so that they were able to be awarded an additional funding. And Brian's on today to talk about how we can help businesses grow through their South East Business programme. So over to you, Brian. Brian, you might be on mute. Can you share your screen? Darren?
Hello.
We seem to have lost Brian.
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you.
And is my screen okay?
Yep, we're okay. If you just want to view your presentation at the bottom, that will come up there for you.
Perfect, thank you. Right, thanks for that introduction, Jackie. I'm not going to rise to your comments with regards to football because we could spend the next 2 hours debating that. So I will move on to important matters for the audience. South East Business Boost. Many of you will have come across this programme, perhaps over the last 3 years when we've been live. And today I really just want to reach out to those organisations that perhaps haven't accessed the programme, but perhaps were aware of it, and really just to give you a flavour of what the programme consists of, in addition to the grant funding that Jackie gave as part of her introduction there. And the good news is that just recently, in the last couple of months, we've had an extension of funding to the programme, which means we've got funding to see us through until the end of December 22. Which in the current climate is actually quite a long time in respect of being able to respond to requests and applications from businesses in respect of grant awards, as well as other areas of advice that we can support you with. So I've just got a few slides just to bring SEB to life, so to speak, and really just give you a flavour of what you can access and how you go about that. So just as an introduction in terms of what is SEB, so it's an ERDF, or European Regional Development funded programme, which is providing support for SMEs, and this is the key, with the opportunity to grow their business. And I think particularly with the current climate, it's really important to understand that the SEB programme was in place before COVID. It will be in place hopefully post-COVID. And what the SEB programme with the grant association with it is not a simple top-up to some of the grants that have been made available by central government, or an alternative in terms of being able to allow businesses simply to survive, which a lot of the existing grant funding has been made available for. It's very much around growth, and that's what the case is that you would need to make in order to be able to access the funding. It falls into 3 streams. The first is a range of targeted workshops and events, which of course in the current climate are delivered on an online space, and you can book onto those, which provides a bit like to this, a sort of networking event, and those events are themed with regards to specialisms like digital marketing, HR, financial planning. So those will be available in time for you to be able to book through the through accessing the Growth Hub course of free. And they are, as I said, as much a good networking event as much as learning from a specialist in a particular field. The second sector of the SEB programme is really what we're talking about primarily today, which is the grants. And those are grants that are available of between £1,000 and £10,000. And as Jackie mentioned, it's important to note that these are part contributed required by the business. So the SEB programme will contribute 30%. The business is expected to fund 70% themselves. And that's for certain eligible goods and services, which range from capital goods and services. So that could be equipment to help build your business, or it could be consultancy in order to be able to get the right advice to support the growth of your business. And the third strand that we have available to you is specialist one-to-one advice, and that's provided by experts in their field, where it is a one-to-one conversation. Traditionally, of course, that was where we would actually visit your premises, but that's been done over mechanics such as this, or telephone. So those are the 3 strands that are available and form the package of the South East Business Boost. The area that we cover is actually broader than just Essex. We support, with the same principles, businesses right across the South East region, as you can see on this this map here, and all the businesses that within that region are given equal opportunity to be able to access the funding, whether that be the grants, the advice, or accessing access to the workshops, which of course allows for an extended networking opportunity even beyond our local region as well. So that's quite helpful. So that's in terms of the area of coverage. The principles around, right, is this for me? You know, am I eligible for this? What I've done here is a range of types of businesses who have already made use of this programme over the last 3 years, by no means is this definitive with regards to the types of businesses or the sectors that that we've already supported, but it gives hopefully a flavour of the variety and the wealth of range of organisations that can access this help. It's important that you are a small and medium-sized business, so that's basically anybody that's trading with under 250 employees. You've got to be an existing business, i.e. a legal entity. And some of you will have perhaps heard of or accessed a programme similar to SEB, which is LOCASE for low carbon support, as well as CCAS for the creative industry. We run in exactly the same way in terms of eligibility and principles, if you like. So we work in conjunction with one another. And it does mean that as a business, if you've had a LOCASE grant, you can also access a SEB grant. So although they run on the same principles, they're different funding pots. So you can make the most of being able to apply for additional funding from another programme. And of course, if you've experienced the eligibility checks and the compliance and the forms, etc., that you would be required to process, then that's really helpful with regards to managing your own sort of time expectations as far as how the process goes. Now, the programme, by its very nature, in terms of it being ERDF funded, anything European aspect has got quite a lot of heavy regulation, if you like, associated with it. And we try to make that as simple as possible in terms of making sure that the documentation that you're viewing and you're completing not only is clear and understandable, but also that you've got the support from delivery teams under Johnny's jurisdiction to provide you that one-to-one support to make sure that that application is as strong as possible and making a strong case for the support that you seek. So it's important in terms of the criteria that you are located as a business within that CELEP area, and anywhere across Essex, of course, falls into that. Really important that the purpose of the grant application or the support is to support your growth and expansion. And that could mean job creation. It could mean where you're introducing new products or services to your business as well. But the growth aspect is the fundamental underpinning requirement in terms of being able to request a SEB, request SEB support, whether that be a grant or other. Other than that, it's not about propping up a business or providing the ability just to keep trading, paying salaries, that kind of thing. It's all about growth. So it's really using the opportunity to identify those thriving businesses, those businesses that are really strong in whatever environment we find ourselves in, and really providing that support. It's really important also to recognise, as I said, that you have available funds to support the project, so that other 70% of value must be available to you to be able to put up and support the total project cost. You need to be ready to be able to proceed with the project, so there's no point in putting an application in and thinking that's fine, I've banked that money and I'll progress with it in 2 years' time. The funding is paid to you after the project has been delivered, so you need to be able to make that investment and that commitment and deliver the project at the time as you're applying for it, and then claim the grant funding after that's been delivered. So you need to be in a position really to proceed when you're applying for that. You need to be able to demonstrate there's a need for grant funding, i.e. you can't proceed with the project without having the grant funding. So that's part of the case I said we would give you some support with. And there are state aid considerations as well in terms of making sure that no business is given too much state aid. So there are limits as far as that's concerned, but I'm pleased to say that's a rare occurrence in terms of exceeding that limit. Just a couple of slides to go very quickly in terms of the process as far as application. Your first port of call is the Growth Hub. That's where you will be validated from an eligibility point of view with what I've described in some of the earlier slides shown in blue. The assessment will then take place with regards to what type of support is most suitable to you, whether it be a grant or one-to-one advice, workshops, etc., or other programmes that are available at the Growth Hub. And then once you, if you are going down the SEB route and if it's a grant that you are seeking, I've got a team of people who will provide that support and guidance for you in terms of making sure that that case is as strong as possible and ultimately pay you the grant, which is a really good outcome, you know, for the team that are involved in the programme, because it's got a completion to it, which is really good. And on that basis, the last slide is just giving you a flavour over the last 2-3 years of just a very small example of some businesses that have benefited from SEB support, and you know, a couple of items there where there's some physical evidence, if you like, in a truck that's been provided that allows a particular business to grow. Others where that's talking about the process being made straightforward with the team support as well. So it's a real, you know, it's a real example of how businesses have benefited from South East Business Boost over the last 2 to 3 years, and how we're able to support businesses going forward as well. That's it from me. I would be happy to take questions at the end of the programme. I will stay on, and if anybody's got any particular questions on that, I'll be happy to help.
That's absolutely brilliant, Brian. Thank you for that. There are about a couple of businesses that have benefited from the South East Business Boost programme. As he mentioned also, it's not just Essex, but Kent and East Sussex, and we've worked very closely with our Growth Hub partners in those areas. So what we thought we'd try and do today is, rather than us tell you about the SEB programme and the support that the Growth Hubs provide to businesses, we thought no better way to do it than to actually tell you, let the businesses tell you what we're able to do for them. So if you bear with me a second, I'm going to be playing a film for you, which just gives you a brief outline of the grant funding support that's been available to businesses. So if you could just bear with me, I'll get you added in for that.
My name is Paul Burns. I'm owner of Maverick Boat Adventures and I operate out of New Haven Marina. I've got to help my business by interacting with Ian about what I needed, and the biggest thing was a double floating pontoon that allowed 2 boats to be lifted out of the water in its berth. So that just saves me loads of time. The boats can be serviced on the pontoons, so it saves me lugging everything back home, cleaning it all and putting it all back on the dock. With Ian, he just basically helped me orchestrate the whole grant application until it was approved by the board. This feels like a turning point. Since my interaction with Growth Hub, I feel like I can achieve my 5-year plan.
When COVID hit, it had a massive impact on my business. We lost 50% of the business overnight because all the restaurants, hotels and coffee shops essentially closed. And Paul Brown works for the Business Growth Hub. So I picked the phone up and spoke to him. The grant enabled me to take a breath and reevaluate my business and my customers and how I could start recovering the 50% loss. And I'm pleased to say within 3 months, we had doubled our internet business. So we were up 200%.
We operate a mobile pizza van. Growth Hub helped us tremendously. The application process was very simple. It allowed us to apply for a grant. The grant was accepted very quickly. And with that grant, we're able to expand our business to convert a couple of taxis, one into a pizza taxi, one into a coffee taxi. I have actually recommended Growth Hub to a couple of friends of mine. One of them has an ice cream truck. He's looking to expand his fleet. The other one has a circus and he's looking to get a bigger tent for his circus.
Growth Hub are doing great. We really wanted to expand the capacity of our building. We wanted new pallet racking that would give us more capacity for putting extra pallets and storage in, a new forklift that would help us access that extra storage, and they've helped us to apply for grants to get that equipment. Ian and Steve at the Growth Hub are really great. I first met them at the local Chamber of Commerce meetings, and since then they've been giving me lots of great advice about what we can do, how we can help to grow our business.
For us, it's quite a big step to go from working on your own cabin to a big clinic is a big step. And with the Growth Hub putting us onto the different grants that they've helped us with has made a massive, massive difference. to get the clinic, and then to have to then kit it all out and do everything is quite a big business expense. And the Growth Hub has helped so much because it's enabled us to get things that otherwise we would have had to compromise on, or we would have had to wait for. So it's definitely made a real big difference.
This Growth Hub really helped us because at the time we really wanted to expand our equipment arsenal, get some new shiny bits of kit that were a little bit out of our price range at the time. We spoke to Jackie, she was fantastic, she talked me through everything I needed to do. We submitted the documents, she helped us refine anything that needed refining. And once we got that all submitted, it was a really quick process in terms of getting the funding back. And we were able to purchase the equipment, and then we were away happy filming in a really short time frame.
We manufacture commercial fire alarm equipment, specifically the parts of a fire alarm system that make a noise and flash at you. So when a fire detector is activated, we get you out the building. Growth Hub provided us with our first grant to buy our first piece of manufacturing equipment. So it provided the impetus we needed and the confidence we needed to turn ourselves from a distributor to a manufacturer. Truly, if it wasn't for Growth Hub and that initial first grant, that really was, if you like, the catalyst to where we are now for growth as a UK manufacturer now.
Sorry about that, guys. I couldn't get it to go to full screen, but as part of the recording today, we will be sending out links to that video. But hopefully you can see from there, there's been some fantastic support across businesses in East Sussex, Kent and Essex, and more importantly, Essex. I think the big frustrating thing for us is the fact that a lot of businesses aren't aware about the grant funding that's available or the support. And if any of you missed the last Best Business Briefing, we will be getting that put onto our website so you can learn a little bit more about not only what the Best Growth Hub does, but the amount of business support that's available for businesses. Because right now, during these unprecedented times, you know, we really want to make sure that you, the businesses in Essex in particular, are maximising that. So thank you for listening so far. What's really exciting on the back of COVID-19, if there is any positives, is we've seen a lot of businesses actually trying to work together to try and overcome challenges. There's been a great sense of community. There's been a great sense of, you know, we're in this together to try and get through this horrible time. And, you know, we may have it for another 6 months, even if not longer. But one thing that we have learned, and as a business support function, and it's been recognised by government and nationally, is that businesses don't want to be told how to do their business. Businesses want to work together to work out, you know, their problems, their opportunities, their challenges. So I'm really proud today to talk about the peer network programme that's being launched nationally across England. And also the Best Growth Hub are going to be, for want of a better word, facilitating the whole programme to the 31st of March.
At Best, we're really excited about this. We were kind of championing a peer network programme at the beginning of the year before, you know, the world started to end. I think the simple reason why we're so enthusiastic about it is, firstly, is the thing that we kind of, at Best, we really focus on is kind of speaking the right language, really. It's trying to understand what actually businesses need, not what the people giving the public funding require, more about how can we get the best type of support, the best type of advice to the business in the way that they can absorb it. You know, regardless of the economic environment and what's happening at the moment, being in business can be quite lonely. You know, many business people go into it because they've got a passion or an interest for a particular product or service or something they're incredibly, you know, enthusiastic about. The bits that sit behind it, the bits of actually running the business, you know, for many people, it's kind of suck it and see. You know, you deal with problems as they come along, and that's quite stressful. The peer programme, as I said, is national and funded by the Department for Business Energy an industrial strategy base. However, they've allowed each growth hub to put their own stamp on it to a certain extent and focus on the issues and changes the businesses in their particular areas are facing, and kind of do that together. So, so what is it? The peer network program is basically, in very, very simple terms, is getting like-minded businesses together in small groups or cohorts. The idea behind that is those businesses then work together on challenges that they table, things they're facing, and use their different experiences, their different knowledge, to tackle these problems and issues, while we as the Growth Hub also inject those cohorts with expert advice, knowledge, tasks and activities that can help, different methods really of tackling some of those problems and some of those things. Now for us, the two key overriding themes that are going to run through these networks are, firstly, COVID, how businesses adapt and change, and how businesses within each sector and each businesses are trying to deal with things that they've never faced before, and that is changing on a weekly or monthly basis. The second aspect is EU transition. We're still now none the wiser really on what the impact of leaving the EU is going to be. And as we kind of roll towards the end of January, it's important that businesses have people around them who they can share their stresses, anxieties, and the solutions to some of the problems that they're going to see. The peer network will involve action learning, masterclasses, best practice sharing, but we also keep each cohort flexible so it can evolve and move as it goes along to ensure that as things change around them, they themselves can bring that to the table and work together. The program itself is funded from, ours will launch in November and will move all the way till the end of March, but it's our ambition to keep it going past that period of time. In the first instance, we're only looking for 10 cohorts from different sectors or different types of business leaders. We're definitely looking for like. And the reason we're approaching it this way is that there's a common held belief that, you know, business competition stops the transfer of ideas and thoughts, but from our experience, that's not the case. You know, you need to be speaking in that similar language. You need to be talking about issues that you're facing, that you know your counterparts are facing. A logistics company isn't necessarily in competition with another logistics company, but they will both face certain elements that they can probably help solve together. In the same way with retail, somebody selling clothes isn't necessarily the same as somebody who sells pots and pans, but they will face different things, but they can learn from how each other tackles and faces the problem. So it's about shaping these cohorts and shaping these discussion groups and using different methods of tackling issues, problems and challenges that everybody can take away from and help their business grow. So who's it for? There's an element of flexibility on this because we are absolutely driven to ensure nobody misses out. So the first priority, those businesses that have been significantly challenged by COVID or are significantly concerned about the impact on their business because of EU transition, we'll always consider. The mandatory criteria are basically they have to have operated for at least 1 year. And when we say operated, they need to be registered with Companies House for that 1 year period, and they need to have traded. At least 5 employees. However, we will consider organisations that have less than 5 employees who meet those 2 criteria that we've introduced, which is significantly challenged for EU transition or COVID. And again, turnover needs to be at least 100,000. We will consider people who have a turnover slightly less than that if it's been impacted by COVID or EU transition. And most importantly, willing to work together and aspiring to improve, grow and change. We have a big commitment at the Best Growth Hub to start to help change across our county, particularly in areas like green, environment, green agenda, in digital and tech, whether that's digital and tech companies or companies who are not digital and tech, but are needing to upgrade or improve their digital and tech knowledge. And those businesses that are looking to impact on their community, on their society, social impact, and that isn't necessarily a not-for-profit or a charity, even if it's a social enterprise, but any business really that is looking to improve their surroundings and their environment. So those type of businesses were very, very keen to get involved. And the two other desirable criteria is those that have the potential to scale up, to grow and to evolve, or have the ability or potential to export. Okay, but again, we want to make the barriers to joining this program as low as possible to ensure we can help as many people as we can. So the program delivery, in very simple terms, it's delivered through a range of or series of high impact, unique group sessions, with each cohort led by a trained facilitator. So those sessions can take multiple different forms. They can be short sessions, an hour or 2 hours long. They can be half-day sessions to tackle a very specific issue. But the whole point of it is the value and the contribution that comes to the business, which is time, needs to have a significant return on that investment. And that investment is the opportunity to adapt and change their business in a very controlled and safe environment. Upon completion of the program, firstly, there'll be a second program that people can go into, whether that's the adaptation or scale-up program that we run at Best. But more importantly, all the working and learning that has gone on during those multiple group sessions can be taken and implemented into the business. And some of those relationships that have been developed in those cohorts hopefully will extend past the government program ended in March. The learning will be interactive and it will be adaptable, which that means is if there's a particular area of expertise that cohort wants to look at, it's our role to try and find that expertise and deliver that within that group as soon as we possibly can. We have our own trained advisors and we have our own trained facilitators, so many of the questions can be driven or answered hopefully by us. But if not, again, it's about encouraging people to work together to overcome some of those challenges. The cohorts will be small. And occasionally some of the cohorts, depending on the task and what's happening, may be broken into even smaller cohorts. But we're only looking at working between 8 and 11 businesses over an extended 12 to 14-week period. The topics will be flexible. We really want this to be an organic process. So we found that prescribed business support has its place and is important, but this isn't really about that. This is about if we really need to challenge one particular area, then that's the area we will do, and it'll be very responsive. And finally, the program does include over 3 hours of one-to-one support as well for every single person who participates. And that's really to kind of drill down into any exclusive or specific issues that A, they don't want to share, or B, they really want to kind of get down to a more granular detail. So the results and outcomes. Business and sector challenges will be recognised and will act upon those elements. So again, in this ever-changing environment, as I keep mentioning, that's incredibly important. You'll have a go-to place to bring something that's hit, but whether it be some new policy or legislation that's come through government, a concern over what the media report in a certain particular element that might hit your business, or something even more kind of at a basic level of an issue that you've been facing for a long period of time that you just can't really seem to tackle. There'll be a trusted network. It'll be a closed group. However, that group should see you through not just this intense period, but obviously in the future. In very simple terms, it'll improve your long-term and personal business performance. That's the real focus for us, and that's the thing that will never ever change as we go through that. It's about improvement and building the capacity within your business. And again, receive support to help you tackle the short-term issues that are affecting your business now. They're COVID-19 and EU transition. So features and benefits. The program's adaptable. You can shape the cohort in its direction yourself, so it evolves to meet your needs. You'll become influencers, both in terms of industry and sector specific. And what we mean by this is that we want to take that intel and that information and share those solutions to the broader marketplace, to the broader community. So together we can face some of these things. You'll be thought leaders. You'll tackle current sector-specific challenges, including COVID and EU transition, and hopefully unlock some of those issues where, that again, when spread, can help other businesses, reassure them and help them tackle those issues as well. It'll become a think tank. It'll feed in key sector-specific information, which we can then use as intel, which we require to lobby for change. And whether that's at a regional basis or even at a national basis, that's really important to us. Our role is, and CELOP's role is, to fight on behalf of the businesses within our county, and this seems to be the best way to do that. It'll include masterclasses, and they'll be tailored, responsive, and the support will be available on demand, both in the cohorts and out of the cohorts. It'll also include a greater knowledge and understanding of all the support that's available, all the funding that's available, and all the potential investments. You'll have that red Batman phone into the Growth Hub, so we can help change your business for the better. There'll be an element of research and development, and hopefully this will be really quite interesting. So some of the tasks that we're developing is allowing different and unique ways to approach problem solving. And so not only the solution to that problem will you be able to take away, but the methods in which we've employed to solve them can be taken back to your own business. And hopefully we'll be able to develop different methods and mechanisms of tackling some of the big issues that your sector or your business or your industry faces. And finally, there'll be a plug into the national network of business leaders. This is happening all over the country. They're all slightly different. They're all approaching it a slightly different way. But being part of that national programme means that there'll be multiple different opportunities to learn, to develop, and to access different types of funding. So we'll be holding 2 launch events in November 2020. It's free to join, although we only have an exclusive and small group numbers to be involved in this. It includes 15 hours of peer-to-peer support minimum and 3 hours one-to-one support, and how that's phased and factored will be a decision that you will come to, although we'll recommend a template to work it through. As I mentioned before, cohorts will be limited to 8 to 11, and for us we're looking to run 10 cohorts across different sectors and different areas across the county, and it will run from November to April, and we'll also develop a second programme to run past that. If you're interested, you need to register your interest itself on the peer network site, which is obviously the national site, and then that will come to us. Obviously, if you want to know more, there'll be more information on our website, which is thebestgrowthhub.co.uk, or which is easy to access, southeastbusiness.org.uk, which is the full growth hub across the other 2 areas as well. So that's it from me about the peer network. If the animation is ready to go, great. If not, I'm very willing to answer any questions. Please put them in the comments and we'll tackle them in the Q&A session at the end. Thank you.
Johnny, I don't think we need to run the animation because you did that brilliantly.
Okay, I'll take that. That's fine. Thanks for that.
But obviously, if anybody wants to go on to www.peernetworks.co.uk, the animation's on there. Darren has also put the link in. But yeah, guys, as Johnny mentioned, this is a very limited programme. This is really the opportunity for businesses to really connect in a totally different way. And it's been proven that when you talk to each other and when you're in it together to solve those problems, it really does make a difference. So I really hope you join Best Growth Hub and making this a really successful programme, because we really are looking to take this forward past March 2021, April 2021. So thanks, Johnny, that was brilliant. Now to something a little bit more, things that have been starting to happen with COVID-19. I think, as SMEs, a lot of the SMEs in Essex don't have access to HR or HR processes, and the problems and the stresses and the strains, not only on employers but employees during the COVID crisis, has just been something none of us have been really prepared for. And unless you have a HR function with people that can react with that and deal with it in a timely manner, and especially with social distancing, it can often be really hard to understand what the true impact on a personal level is having for employees and employers. So we're really lucky today, because health and well-being is something that we're really wanting to focus on as a growth hub and across the county support providers. We're really lucky to have Lynn Moforth, who's a workplace health promotion specialist, who's going to tell you about, yet again, another Essex County Council supported programme called Provide, and how they can help SMEs. So Lynn, can I hand over to you now to share your screens and talk about the support that you can provide?
Of course you can. Bear with me 2 ticks and I'll just bring. I'm the Workplace Health Promotion Specialist at Provide Kick. And, you know, we are commissioned by Essex County Council to offer a holistic health and wellbeing programme for Essex businesses called Working Well. And I'm going to talk to you today about the new small and medium-sized business offering that we have available. Now, obviously, in the current COVID situation, you know, we're all facing different ways of working, uncertain times, fear, you know, change, and striving to survive or to grow. But we need to actually also focus on your most precious asset, your staff, who sometimes, you know, may get almost forgotten, and that's not in an inappropriate way, but that's what happens. So actually, I'm here to talk to you about investing in your staff can improve your productivity, help you to retain staff, so they can work in a sort of a pleasant and enjoyable surroundings, and they can feel valued, because that's how we retain staff. So the Working Well programme has been updated over the last couple of months to move on to an online offering. So this means that we can help you to support and engage your staff to stay sort of both physically and psychologically healthy. We have a 3-tier approach, but I'm going to focus mainly on the first two tiers, which support the small and medium-sized organisations. So we offer an online mental health first aid training sort of offering. So we offer all of the adult training courses. We also offer managers, staff and sort of stress awareness training sessions. And we have a wide range of 30-minute lunch and learn sessions for staff to access. We've also taken the lifestyle checks and moved them online for staff as well. We work in partnership with Active Essex and ACE to be able to support the wider agenda around sort of healthy eating, weight loss and increasing physical activity levels. And for November, we're proud to launch our first online men's health sort of campaign, which will be a series of motivational speakers run sort of sessions that are run sort of by men for men. And we're also going to be launching our Keepy Uppy video challenge. So we're challenging everyone to send us in a short video of them sort of kicking a football, and the idea is that football will move all the way around Essex. So I'm going to now go up, and we're just going to click on to the actual website. Now this is new, you're seeing this first because this has only actually been live now for sort of a couple of weeks. So I'll go on to the small business offering, which on here we have a COVID recovery toolkit, which is updated every week with supports and links for additional help. We also have an HR specialist who is able to offer an online support surgery, you know, so they can answer some of the pressing questions and concerns they've got. We're also able to offer the half-day MHFA England mental health awareness training, and we're soon to be able to offer the MHFA managers online e-learning sort of training as well, which will be fantastic, and that will be free. They'll also be able to access our monthly newsletter as well. So we've got some good sort of offerings there. And then on our small to medium sized offering, and I hope you can see all of that, it's just slightly bigger. We've got the HR specialist working with us at the moment, and she can go in and support a baseline needs assessment, not only for the training needs, but actually staff's health and well-being. We can have regular online meetings with the organisations, and again we can have the sort of the lunch and learn sessions that they're able to access as well. As part of this pilot, we're able to offer the half-day mental health first aid, mental health awareness training free of charge. And then again, you know, we've got the online e-learning hub from Mental Health First Aid England that's coming. And then our HR specialists can work with your managers on some really bespoke training. It might be things like managing sickness absence, just managing one-to-one meetings in an online environment, perhaps managing sort of staff's return to work, and maybe some fears they have around perhaps sort of safety and social distancing. We can also upskill that particular program to the full level 3 working well program as well. And again, you can access the monthly newsletter. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the level 3 because that's something you can look at your leisure. There is also a little online health check that you can complete, which asks a number of questions, which I guess helps to get you to set the scene, to think about, well, what do I need to support my staff, to support productivity and to retain those really valuable staff as well. So I do urge you to take the time to complete that, and then that generates an email through to us, and one of the team can then contact you. We also have the mental health first aid training offer, and again I do urge you to visit the website and go in there. And we've got a number of really sort of interesting videos that can help to explain why it is important. It's not an HSE requirement, but we do urge all of our organisations to invest in the mental health first aid training, one of the offers that is available. And really, unless anyone's got any questions which can be asked at the end, I know we're quite tight on time. Is there anything else anyone needs? Jackie, do I need to say anything else?
Lynn, I think that's brilliant. This is something that I think a lot of businesses out there have really been struggling to get support with. So I think just to encourage anybody, remember, use the chat function for any questions. If you've got a question for Lynn, can you just put your name, what the question is, and put Lynn's name next to it as who you want to direct it to. But, you know, some of these programmes you've got, Lynn, is absolutely fantastic. And given the next topic that we're going to be talking about, I think making sure that we've got robust HR systems or mental health training is important. So thanks for that, Lynn. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Sorry about the IT glitch at the beginning, but we got there in the end. Thank you.
Listen, we're all learning. We're all learning. This is a different world that we're living in nowadays. So so following on from Lynn's section on mental health, we will be getting a session later on after this next section from Martin Lord from the Citizens Advice, because it really does tie in nicely to the mental health and well-being and support for employers. But given that we're looking to also create new jobs, bring new people on board, and the government's recent announcements about the Kickstart scheme, which we've had loads of inquiries about, and also the grants that are available for bringing on apprentices, trainees and job experience. I'm going to now hand you over to Ivona, who's a Growth Hub lead from CELEP. She's going to be talking to you with various other members of the DWP, for example, to explain to you what the programme is for taking on new employees. So Ivona, I'll leave it over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jackie. I'm just going to try to share my screen. Okay, is that working for everyone?
That's perfect, Ivona.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, so as Jackie said, I'm Ivona Bainbridge and I am the Growth Hub lead for CELEP. And the presentation that I'm just about to deliver to you will be together with two of my Essex County Council colleagues, Annette and Loretta, and Jackie from DWP. And it is very much about the recent government incentives around employment and apprenticeships. Okay, let's move. So just a quick recap on apprenticeship reform. As you are aware, there's been a lot happening in the apprenticeship arena in the last 3 years. And since March 2017, we have seen a new style of apprenticeships, which are very much driven by the employers The employers are now at the heart of the designing of the apprenticeships and decisions making around the use of the levy, which was introduced some time ago for the large employers. We have also seen an introduction of the digital apprenticeship service. It's a digital platform for the levy paying employers and the non-levy paying employers, kind of like an account, like a bank account where they can store all the information. And we've also seen the introduction of the Institute for Apprenticeships and Technical Education. So you know that employers who pay the apprenticeship levy and have got some unused apprenticeship funds can now support other employers and transfer those levy funds across. Levy paying employers can actually transfer up to maximum of 25% of their annual funds, and they can transfer them to as many employers as they choose to. The only restriction is that the funds can only be used for paying for training and assessment costs. Now, this sounds all very straightforward. But it isn't always. Our colleagues in Essex County Council have been developing a new levy transfer system, which they would like to tell you a little bit more about. Annette and Loretta, I'm just going to pass it over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Annette Hall. I sit within Economic Growth at Essex County Council, and I'm here with Loretta from Adult Community Learning to give you a brief introduction into a new service that we're developing. We're in the process of setting up an Essex-wide levy apprenticeship transfer service. The service will act as an enabler to bring together large levy-paying employers who have unspent levy that they're not using and bring them together with small to medium-sized enterprises who are looking for apprenticeship levy to train up existing staff in their organisation or bring new apprentices into their organisation and pay for the funding and use the funding for the training that way. The service will be a fully managed service when it's operational, with a website that's aimed at business that should be easy to use and easy to understand, and there will be staffing behind the scenes who will make the connection between the business with the levy to share and the business who needs to receive the levy. That's the all-important part of this service. We aim to have this service fully operational towards the end of the year. We're hoping by the end of November, early December. I'm going to hand you over to Loretta just to talk through a little bit more about this.
Oh, good afternoon, everybody. So our aim is to support at least 300 apprenticeships across all sectors and all age groups by providing a service that will support the transfer of unspent levy back into the Essex economy. That otherwise this money would just be lost back to the Treasury. We have already employed 2 full-time employment engagement officers. Their role is to go out and engage with both levy-paying businesses and SMEs who would like the opportunity to access that levy transfer. But wider than that, we will be engaging with local authorities, businesses across Essex to promote the skills agenda and to support businesses and their employers to retrain and upskill, or even to bring new apprentices into their organisation to support growth. We will also look at supporting employers with other funding routes. As Annette said, the project is in its very early stages of development, and we would be happy to return to the next briefing later in the year with a further update. So thank you very much for your time, and if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them, or please feel free to email myself or Annette after today. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Annette and Loretta. Okay, right then, sorry, I just had a bit of a trouble with moving the presentation forward. Just sort of know a little bit about the new incentives. So from 1st of August 2020 up until the 31st of January 2021, any business that hires an apprentice between the age of 16 to 24 will receive an incentive of £2,000, and then any business taking on an apprentice of 25 years old and over will receive £1,500 £500. There is no limit on the number of incentives payments for eligible new apprentices. And the claims can be made directly through the apprenticeship service, and then they are paid directly to the employers in 2 equal instalments. It is worth sort of remembering that these payments are in addition to the existing £1,000 incentives that are already in place. Employers who do not pay the apprenticeship levy have now been able to create accounts on the apprenticeship service, and that's been in place since January 2020. And since July the 15th, there's been also change in how many reservations can be made per employer. Previously, that was capped at 3, now that is up to 10. So that actually enables the non-levy paying employers to recruit more apprentices for their businesses, which I think is extremely beneficial. Traineeships. That is actually a fund that sort of helps with work placements and training and helps to improve provision for the 16 to 24-year-olds. The incentives are of £1,000 per trainee. And there is a limit that you can have, that each business or employer can have up to 10 trainees. I have also put a slide together that sort of summarizes all the different apprenticeships incentives and the training costs. So when you receive the slides, you can use this as a reference point. Okay, last but not least, there are a lot of organisations that are obviously using apprenticeships as an essential tool to boost their skills and improve productivity, and the profile of apprenticeships is still high. However, there are some businesses that unfortunately had to make some of their apprentices redundant. The plea is that if you can hire a redundant apprentice, please do go to the vacancy sharing service on gov.uk. The link is later on in the last slide. Leave your details about your apprenticeship opportunity, and then the apprentice that is interested in joining your business will contact you directly. And now we move to Kickstart. I think everyone has been waiting for news about that particular programme, so I'll just pass it over to my colleague Jackie Phillips at DWP. Jackie, over to you.
Hiya. Hello everyone, thank you. So yeah, the Kickstart programme, you've probably heard quite a bit about this already in the news. It's quite a high profile incentive. So basically what is Kickstart? It's a £2 million fund to create hundreds of thousands of high quality 6-month work placements for young people. So this is 16 to 24-year-olds. So full funding will be available for each job and will cover the relevant national minimum wage rate for 25 hours a week, plus the associated employer national insurance contributions and the employer minimum automatic enrolment contributions. The relevant national minimum wage rate will be calculated using the age of the young person at the end of the 6-month placement. So how do these payments work then? Okay, so on confirmation for job start, the employer will be paid £1,500 per placement to support the overhead costs, i.e. like payroll, onboarding, leadership, etc., everything that it costs to actually look after an individual. That is in addition to the salary as well. So the salary and relevant on-costs will be paid in arrears in 2 payments at the end of month 3, which will be paid on month 4, and at the end of month 6, paid in month 7. So employers from all industries and across the private, public and voluntary sectors will be able to get involved. Through the scheme, employers will be able to access a large pool of young people with potential ready for an opportunity. And we'll be initially prioritising these young people aged between 16 and 24 who are ready for an opportunity that will be supported through the Job Centre Plus work coach, and they'll be signposted to an opportunity. So employers actually will be invited then to, you won't be asked to take on an individual, you would obviously have the opportunity to interview the individual and make sure that they're going to be the right person for your organisation, or individuals of course. So we're calling employers to make a bid to be involved in the scheme. We're initially looking at employers there that can offer 30 placements, but obviously that's not viable for us small and medium enterprises. So what we do have is something called a intermediary gateway organisation, and we've been talking to quite a lot of those potential employers, potential organisations across Essex, and Best have been promoting that out as well, that would be quite interested in building a consortium of employers to offer 30 or more places. Now, there's a lot of information about all of this, and it's being updated daily. The last update actually, so that was the 18th of September. But if you go through gov.uk, you can see that I've got a link on there that will give you all of the most up-to-date information and how to apply. Likewise, if you've got any questions, really happy that you come back to me directly as well, and I'll be happy to help you. So what happens is, as I say, we're looking and encouraging all sizes of employers to participate. I mean, Essex is made up, as 80% of small and medium enterprises. You know, that is where the bulk of these opportunities are going to be, and the variety and the range of different opportunities. So, as I say, those there that are going to be bid through the intermediaries or umbrella organisations or gateway organisations, as they're now called, they'll also attract a fee of £300 per participant, and that will help sort of create the right support. So there's a lot of information around this, and I'm a little bit conscious of time. So perhaps at the end, if we've got some Q&A, I'll be really happy to answer any questions that you've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. It's really appreciated. Okay, and just to sort of bring to the presentation to close, there was a whole slide with some useful links, and so hopefully there will be a good point of reference when you receive the slide. So thank you for listening, and you know, and enjoy the rest of the event.
Thank you, guys. That was absolutely brilliant. I know there was a lot of information to take in there. I think, you know, if we look what's happened over the last 6 months, I think it's fair to say that as a business community and as business support providers, we've got a real responsibility to help get these young people into employment, to get them into training. You know, they've had a rough ride from their exams to, you've only got to look at what's happening in the universities and them being in because of COVID. So, you know, let's make sure we're all playing our part in actually developing careers and a vision and a future for them. On the downside, we're obviously coming to a stage where we're coming to the end of the furlough scheme. And when you think of the Citizens Advice Bureau, we often think of them being able to support us through personal problems, you know, not being able to get housing, not being in debt, lots of different things. But you'd be wrong to think that Citizens Advice aren't there to support businesses too. And we're very lucky today to have Martin Lord, who's the Director of Development for Citizens Advice Essex, to talk you through what they're seeing at the Citizens Advice Bureau and how they can help businesses, sole traders and SMEs going forward. So Martin, can I pass it to you, please, to share your screen? Thanks.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Let's see if this works. Can you see that?
We can see your desktop, Martin.
Can you see the presentation?
No.
Okay.
No, we can. Thank you, Martin.
Oh,
Over to you.
Great. Bit of a fraught moment then. Anyway, thank you very much for having me today. And as was said, we do provide and always have actually provided some support to small businesses, very particularly actually sole traders, because typically sole traders are just people in the community who might combine their income from a small business with other income in the household, including benefits or earned income from somebody else in the household. So, but this particular presentation has arisen from funding that we've secured in response to coronavirus, again through Essex County Council, hence the logo on the front page, to really recognise that the service that we provide will face significant increased demand with what we believe is coming over the hill in terms of business failures. So just a few words about Citizens Advice Essex. It's a consortium body. I work for Citizens Advice Essex as a separate individual charity, but all of the other 10 local Citizens Advice operating in Essex, which includes Southend and Thurrock, are part of the consortium. Each local Citizens Advice is an independent local charity. It's not part of the government as people still believe it to be. It just isn't. It's not a quango or a government department. It's a charity. We coordinate our activities through a cooperation and participation agreement. The notion of a consortium in a particular county is not entirely unique, but it's not universal. I think there's consortiums in Hampshire and in Devon and in a few other places, but mostly Citizens Advice operate without operating as part of a formal consortium. We're able to call ourselves a local Citizens Advice and to use the branding as a consequence of a membership agreement with our national association. It's effectively a franchise, actually. We have quite strict membership conditions to comply with. And what we get in return for that is obviously the brand, but also a lot of the infrastructure that enables us to provide our services. Specifically, and what's been particularly useful in response to COVID is a shared CRM, that's client relationship management system, which is web-based, some shared telephone services, and also, as of a couple of years ago, a coordinated approach to supporting universal credit claimants as part of something called the Help to Claim service. So I'm not sure if you can see that, but that's a map of the county and an indication of where our main locations are. And each of those blue dots is one of those individual local Citizens Advice that I was mentioning at the beginning, whereas the purple or burgundy dots are outreach offices. And actually those burgundy dots, it might not be the full list, and they move around anyway as we identify opportunities to work in partner organisations, offices and other locations as funding allows. But you can see quite well spread across the county. That's the data we've got from last financial year, which is, and actually that's not the unique number of clients we helped. Unique number of clients we helped, I think just under 48,000. That's individuals with names, addresses, postcodes that can be identified uniquely. But that's an indication of the kind of issues and the number of issues they presented.
Sorry, Martin. Sorry,
yeah.
Martin, we haven't got that slide. We're still on the second page.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay. So benefits and tax credits and universal credit and debt, if you look at what's on the right-hand side of the page, are by far the biggest inquiry areas. And they were last year, and they're even more so now as a consequence of the pandemic. So moving on to the next slide now. Can you see that?
Yes, Martin.
Good, good. So our response to the pandemic has been that we have almost completely transferred our operations to telephone and home working. So there's 800 volunteers who work for the Citizens Advice Service across the county. Not all of them were involved in advice giving, but of those that were, most are now providing services at home. which is a really big ask actually to make of them, because the sort of social element of volunteering was always important and is important. And to expect them to be providing services from home in their studies or bedrooms or spare rooms or whatever was a really big ask, and they sort of stepped up to it. But it was also a big ask of the service, because we had to equip them with all the equipment necessary to do that, in terms of accessing our CRM and our telephone services. Our specialist services, typically provided by paid staff, have been maintained and actually expanded. We've moved into a lot of fuel poverty work as a consequence of funding that we secured, not in response to the pandemic, but just was in the pipeline anyway. Telephone service is a hybrid local national service, which means that we provide services locally, but those services that are provided are backed up by national services. Having said all of that, demand far exceeds supply, specifically over telephone. So many people who try to get to on the phone will not be successful, and that's simply a feature of it being a free service and being universally appealing. So lots of people are trying to use it at the same time. Having said that, most of our frequently asked questions or problems there's content on our national website, and it's very, very well developed content produced nationally and at quite a lot of expense, a lot of resource put into it. And so we'd encourage anybody who has the urge to seek advice to first and foremost use our website to see if they can resolve their inquiry using that. If not, you can reach out using the local numbers and services or referral arrangements. And later on, there'll be a slide about how you can contact us, and also my contact details. That's not to say that I want to be individually contact with people's advice inquiries, but if anybody is confused about how they can perhaps get one of their employees or a colleague or an organisation in front of us in terms of how to work in partnership, then my details at the end will be a way of perhaps doing that. So next slide, I don't know if you can see that. It's an indication of what people have been asking us about. And as you'll see at the beginning of the pandemic, these inquiry areas, which were hits on our website, were right at the beginning of the pandemic. And you can see that the very first thing that happened, as soon as people knew that something was up, if you see the pale blue line at the far left of the screen, was people started having concerns about cancelling their holidays because they realised it probably wasn't going to happen. And as people became more clear about their legal position on holiday cancellations, etc., those inquiries began to tail off. And this is just a basket of our top web page hits, not by any stretch of the imagination, everything that we deal with. But as the pandemic began to emerge as a real problem, people began to realise what was up. And also, obviously, the Prime Minister made various announcements. You'll see that inquiries about self-employment, about furloughing, I mean, I don't think anybody even heard of the word furloughing before March, began to emerge. And you'll see there's a burgundy line there that went right from nowhere right up to the top, among the top 5 inquiries. Redundancy pay has been instrumental all the way throughout the period. We go on to the next slide and look at what people were asking about in September, July to September. You can see that people began to start inquiring about redundancy pay. People's inquiries about furloughing began to tail off as I think people began to understand what their legal position was. And then just interestingly, you'll see I think it's a sort of a burgundy or purple line, getting a divorce. People began to start inquiring about getting a divorce, indicating that the effect of the pandemic is not just purely economic, but as people become more economically pressed, maybe those fractures in relationships begin to emerge and people start necessarily inquiring about their relationship problems, which has always been a feature of what Citizens Advice has been able to give advice on. So that's just a flavour. There's tons more on our website and on any of our Twitter feeds that you can have a look at, which actually show these in an animated form and just gives an indication of how the country's been responding to the pandemic and what the country's been worrying about. So our services to small businesses. As I said at the beginning, we've always supported sole traders. hairdressers, painters and decorators, mobile mechanics, always been a feature of what we've done. And actually, how could it not? Because the number of sole traders has increased significantly in the last 10 or 15 years. We can support smaller businesses, by which I mean less than 5 employees. And that could be by providing direct support to directors. Most directors are not millionaires. They'll have their own personal financial challenges as their businesses begin to struggle, and we can give advice to them. We can certainly give advice to employees. So if there's a large group of employees who are going to be affected by a layoff or redundancy, and employers want to reach out in terms of making sure those people have access to support, there's ways of doing so. We can give advice to employers about their obligations, along with the work of other organisations like ACAS. And we can also make referrals to pro bono services provided by, for example, solicitors. If you've, for example, got a troubling inquiry relating to a lease obligation that is beyond our expertise to deal with. What we can't do for those larger employers is give formal business advice, for example, on restructuring or insolvency, but we can refer. And also, as you've heard today, there's lots of other organisations around that can help with that too. So that's some of the promotional work that we've been doing on Twitter and social media, just to highlight the work that we can do to support sole traders, the self-employed small businesses. And then I did say at the end I would be describing how you should be contacting us. Well, all of the local citizens' advice have got slightly different telephone numbers. It all uses the same basic infrastructure. The simplest thing to do is to go onto our national website, which is indicated on the left of the screen there. Inquire, find out if the topic you require advice about is on our website. There's 4,000 or 5,000 pages worth of content there, so there's almost certainly going to be content that's relevant to you. But if you do need to reach out to us, use the contact box at the bottom right hand of the screen, pop in the postcode that's nearest to you, and then it will come up with a selection of local citizens' advice that are closest to you. And there on the right hand screen is just an example of Southend, just to give that as an example, with its opening times, its telephone services, any referral arrangements it has, its local website, etc., etc. So by that means you should be able to make contact. If you can't for whatever reason, or you want to explore partnership opportunities with the Citizens Advice Service collectively, my details, hopefully you can see them there. There for you to jot down, and I think the presentation is going to be circulated anyway, so I welcome anybody contacting me. I'm not an advice worker myself, but I can link you in with the local citizens' advice or act on their behalf if necessary. And that's the end of my presentation. Hopefully it worked all right. Thank you very much.
That was perfect, Martin. Thank you very much. I think you'll all agree it's a really invaluable service, and I think it's important that we are able to explore all the different types of options that are available. So thank you for that, Martin. If you can unshare your screen. So as we're coming to the end of the call, we've got just one more round robin session, and then hopefully we'll move on to the question and answers. So as a business support organisation and across Essex, there are a number of really fantastic organisations out there to support businesses, and we work very closely with a lot in the private sector as well as the public sector. So what we wanted to do today was to maybe provide you some 2-minute teasers around some of the private sector offerings that are out there. So over to my round robin team, no pressure. 2 minutes to tell everybody on the call today about how you can help them. And we're going to start with Daryl from Enterprise Nation. Over to you, Daryl.
Thank you, Jackie, the hostess with the mostess. I hope everyone is okay today. I've just popped in the chat a link to the kind of the one I want to signpost you all to, which is the Amazon Accelerator Program. It's something that was launched earlier on this year by Enterprise Nations. It is free to all to take part. So please go to the link, click on it, and see how that might help you with your business or with clients or anyone else you know in the Essex region who's looking for help. Obviously, by the name Enterprise Nations, it is a UK-wide organisation For members, it is a way to kind of do peer networking, go to events, learn from other people. It ranges from micro businesses all the way up to people who've now started to get themselves stocked in Sainsbury's, Waitrose, etc. What I would also like to stress is if anyone out there has had clients who've gone for startup loans or in the process of going for a startup loan, believe it or not, you get 6 months free Enterprise Nations membership. It's one of those things that people often forget to take advantage of. So please, please, please make sure people take advantage of that. You never know what doors that might open for that business in terms of some free peer mentoring, free advice, etc. And then finally, to keep the show on the road for everybody else, just to say that if you don't want to become a member of Enterprise Nation, that's no problem at all. However, you can join for free to join the mailing list, so you can still be kept up to date with government announcements, because they are a lobbying body, as with my colleagues who'll be speaking just after me. And also there will be certain events that might be useful for your business to attend to by paying a small fee, usually under £50. But thank you all for your time, and back to Jackie.
I was just about to do the do.
I timed myself perfectly, Jackie.
Simone from Federation of Small Businesses, your turn now.
Hi everyone, my name is Simona Daniel. I'm the Federation of Small Businesses Development Manager in Essex. FSB is a membership organisation, and we provide a wealth of benefits to members, many of which, as you can manage, have proved really invaluable during the COVID-19 crisis. Members can get an exclusive package of business services, including advice, financial products and support. These cover a wide range of benefits such as tax, legal and HR, networking, free business banking, insurance services, debt recovery, cyber protection, funding, healthcare support, lots more as well. So please do check out our website. At present, we have around 4,000 members in Essex. So as you can imagine, the last few months have seen a flurry of activity, with FSB working locally, regionally and nationally to support members. We've worked tirelessly to gather data and highlight the plight of small firms directly with government, ministers, officials and policymakers. We started off in February by looking at what the impact of this virus would be, and we advised that a really strong package of support would be needed, including the money to replace the wages of employees who otherwise would be made redundant. We campaigned heavily for more support for the self-employed. And on March 26th, the Chancellor announced the Self-Employed Income Support Scheme. FSB's influence was also visible in the establishment of the Small Business Grant Fund in April. We've recently announced that FSB has teamed up with Adecco Working Ventures to be an intermediary for the Kickstart scheme that you heard about earlier. This will enable SMEs to access the talent and skill of young people. The partnership has already proved really successful in the first couple of days. We've really got a demand, a flavour of the demand for the scheme, since we've partnered up. The guiding principle of FSB work is to encourage government to make every scheme as generous as possible, to make it start as fast as possible, and to make it reach as far as possible. However, there are many businesses that have missed out on support, including company directors and new startups. So I stick to my 2 minutes. For more information about FSB, please do check out our website. I'll pop it in the chat in a bit. And also please do get in touch with me if you'd like to find out more about becoming a member and about all the activity that we do.
Brilliant job, Simone. Well timed. Thank you for your support today. And now if we could move across to Chris Chapman from the MWES team. You there, Chris?
Hello, can you see and hear me?
Yep, we can.
Super. Hi everyone, my name is Chris Chapman. I'm the business advisor with MWES. So just going to quickly update you about the offer and what we can help you with. So MWES are an enterprise agency, so we assist businesses with advice and funding. All the services we provide are totally free, and what we provide basically is business support in Essex to help people who are either starting up or existing businesses. So whether that's through one-to-one advice with me or training sessions, we can do those at either our centres in Harlow or Thurrock, although we're obviously doing a lot of stuff online now for obvious reasons. So business advice and support can be provided free to pretty much any type of business. To help you with that. Also, we're a delivery partner for the government startup loan scheme. So for those of you that don't know, startup loans can provide up to £25,000 of government-backed loan to businesses that are either pre-start, starting up, or have been trading for less than 2 years. So you can take between £1,000 and £25,000 loan. It's repayable at an interest rate of 6% over anything from 1 to 5 years. Now, at the moment, due to the uncertainty in trading conditions with COVID, we are offering capital repayments anywhere from 3 to 6 months. So again, if you're looking to start up a business or you've not long started up and you need a little bit of money or a little bit of cash flow, but you're worried about the early months of trading, the startup loan can kind of accommodate that. So again, if that's something that you're interested in, either the advice or the funding side, speak to somebody at the Best Pro Pub. We can put you in touch with me, and we'll get in touch with you for the guide. Thank you.
Chris, if you can just post your details in the chat room, that'd be fantastic. But
No
thank
problem.
you for your
Thanks,
time
Jackie.
today. Now we're going to move across to the lovely Leslie to tell you about some government-funded skills training. So from the Go Train team.
Hello, thank you very much indeed. Yes, I am Leslie. I'm Leslie Blackband from Go Train. I do work really closely with the Best Business Growth Hub, and I appreciate that. One of the areas that I'd like to just tell you about today that Go Train is involved in is the free support in training for small to medium enterprises. So if you're a Kent or Essex based business with under 250 staff, you are entitled to a substantial amount of courses, actually completely free. And these would be involving customers, so could be customer service, could be business improvement techniques, might be Sage Payroll for accounting, Sage Payroll for business, digital skills. There's a plethora of courses that are all completely free and available to you, completed online. So obviously, no issues there with social distancing. Our centres are open, but we are limited on how many people we can have in them. But this was created as an online course so that you have the flexibility still to complete it around your working day. I'm going to post my email address in the chat box, and you'll please feel free to contact me if you'd like some more details. There is a little bit of paperwork to fill in because it's government funding, so we all know that it doesn't come without some paperwork. And also we can assist you if you have any vacancies for staff. We also offer that service completely free as well, no charges. So if you've got a couple of small, couple of vacancies and you want to get some candidates across from us, we pre-screen everybody and we can definitely work with you on that as well. So thank you for your time. Thank you for inviting me, and I'll post my details in the chat box. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Free training and no recruitment fees sounds like too good to be true, but I know it isn't. So can we now pass over to Lara Fox from the Institute of Directors. Hi, Lara.
Hi. Yep, so I'm here to talk about the Institute of Directors. I'm an ambassador for Essex. In regular times, we have regular networking events such as company visits and our mastermind breakfasts or dinners. Currently, we have events such as weekly virtual catch-up and lots of other online events. There's also access to the Pall Mall building in London and some various regional hubs as well, if you don't fancy working at home or you need somewhere to have a meeting. We have a range of courses and qualifications, including the Chartered Director qualification. And the helpful thing for businesses, I find, having personally used them for my own, is inquiries to the Business Information Service, sessions with the Directors Advisory Service for independent and confidential advice from a range of specialists, calls with our legal and tax helplines, access to both the online and physical business libraries, the physical ones at Pall Mall, and access to our policy team to help get your voice heard to central government. That's it. I'll post the website in the chat.
Thank you, Lara. And last but not least, the lovely Neil over at the Innovation Centre based at University of Essex. Hi, Neil.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, I'm Neil. I'm the Innovation Director of the Innovation Centre at the University of Essex up in Colchester. I work for Oxford Innovation, and our overall kind of business objectives are to help startups scale. So we provide kind of flexible office space for startups. We include hot desk and dedicated desk, and we can kind of facilitate one-man bands up to kind of 30 people. We target innovation, digital, tech, and high growth companies, as well as those entrepreneurs. And the space is inspirational, very spacious, and it's really COVID safe environment at the moment. We also provide free in-house business support across a multitude of disciplines. These are things like business diagnostic sessions, business canvas modelling, value propositions, and pitching for investment, and also one-to-one performance coaching through myself. We have access to university departments, academics and interns, and are linked in with organisations such as BEST, obviously, Techies, Tech Nation, and all the local bodies. As part of Oxford Innovation, we are an Amazon partner, so we have access to $10,000 worth of AWS credits for each business based here. I'm a licensed growth mapper provider as well, so a very powerful kind of 360 business tool to dig into your data for each business and kind of come up with suggestions for founders. Innovation can be messy, and it helps guide them on the way. And for finance, we have an angel investment network based in Oxford, and we can coach companies through that pitching process. And recently, Angels at Essex launched in the centre as well through John Stenhouse and the University Enterprise team. So, give them a shout as well. Currently, we're back to kind of pre-COVID levels, actually, 22 businesses in, ranging from like fintech, digital creative, insurtechs, developers, wellbeing platforms, and people are hot desking. Our cafe is also open for pre-order and takeaway. So, even though the government's message is, work from home where you can, we're still open and still having companies move in. So kind of our message is, if you can't work from home, then work here. So we'd love to see you.
Thanks for that, Neil. I love that last bit. If you can't work from home, work from here. Okay, guys, so that's been a lot of information for everybody to take in. I can only just reiterate, this is only a small proportion of the business support for SMEs across Essex. There's much, much more there. So if you did happen to miss the first business briefing and you're not sure what your business is entitled to, I would strongly recommend you visit www.southeastbusiness.org.uk and click on this, the Southend, Essex and Thurrock website, and then you'll be able to find out a lot more about what's available. So this is down to you. This is your chance to have your voice as businesses. Johnny, I think you're going to assist in this next session. I know we've only got technically 5 minutes left, but perhaps we can extend it. But is there any questions for businesses that have attended today? Johnny?
Yeah, hang on. Sorry, my chat's frozen. It's not good. It's been very good, actually. A lot of the providers have answered the questions in the chat, which was good. I've got one from Denise Gannon. I was hoping to find out more about the small business technology grant today. Do you know how I can find out the criteria for accessing this? Is that one you can answer, Jackie?
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's not good news, I'm afraid. That grant, due to demand, closed about 2 weeks ago. Whilst the government did announce that there was going to be 20 million for businesses in across England, when you look at that across Essex, Kent, Sussex, it doesn't equate to a lot of money. And given the amount of demand, we had well over 2,500 businesses request the grant, so we had no option but to close it. Or the SEPCOR team who are running it had no option but to close it.
Okay, thank you, Jackie.
What I will say though, Johnny, is it doesn't mean to say that there aren't other grants available. They won't be government funded and they won't be at 100%. But as we've spoken earlier, you've got things like the South East Business Boost grant. You've got other grants that might be applicable if people are looking to spend on machinery, consultancy, etc. They may be able to assist. And in that case, we would recommend to contact the Growth Hub.
Okay, thank you, Jackie. Well, there doesn't seem to be any more questions coming in, and thank you to the providers for being on the chat during the during the presentations. If those of you are interested, please flick through and see, because all the contact details and all the web links are there. Our next big business briefing will be happening in November. We'll have one eye on Christmas, how to use creativity to enhance your Christmas offer, regardless of what sector you're in. And also we'll have quite a sharp focus on the imminent EU transition. So we haven't talked around there. So I think it will be quite not only valuable, but it'll be quite an important briefing for us. Thank you all for attending. It's been a really good event for us. Thank you, Jackie, for hosting it with so much enthusiasm and the stick and the carrot I saw, which was very good. Presentations and details and contacts will be circulated to all attendees. So thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you all in November. All the best.
Bye, everyone.